All right, so the first technique I'm gonna be showing is the scissor sweep, and then we're gonna move on to a triangle counter when he moves his arm back inside. So I'm never really sure if the scissor sweep is an open or closed guard technique, because I am technically like opening up and sliding out a little bit, but I'm gonna play these grips in closed guard anyway oftentimes. So just give me a left sleeve grip, put your thumb inside, make the spider grip, take the thumb out. And then this one, it can be same side collar or cross side collar, but I've really come to prefer the cross side collar. So let's take this hand, let's sit up, and let's get as deep in here as your partner will let you. Okay, a good strong grip here is gonna help punch him into the sweep in a little bit, okay? So the same side that I made that grip, in this case my right side, I'm gonna put my right foot either on the hip or on the floor. If I can get to the hip, that's always what I prefer, but sometimes the person's arm position won't allow that, so you can put your foot on the floor. But if you can, get the hip. Okay, then I'm gonna hip escape out, not too far, not too close, and I'm gonna take this shin on the side, I'm gonna play it about 45 degrees across his chest. So my foot, if you can't see on this side, is against his hip bone, my knee is almost playing toward his shoulder. There's some debate about, where to play this angle-wise. Some people like to play it low across the hip, but what I find is if you play it low across the hip, and I have this angle here, you can get a bigger guy who just lays down on your leg and starts to smash you. It's a lot harder for the person on top to do that if you play this knee a little bit higher, like a 45-degree angle. I have a little more mobility and flexibility here. So once I get to this point, I'm gonna create my scissor blades, okay? So I'm already on my side, I'm on my hip, this is very good. Controlling his sleeve, controlling the collar. I'm gonna slide this leg down to the floor, so the back of my knee is cupping his knee, okay? So if Tim puts his arms up for a second, you can see I've already got my first set of scissor blades here. And what people don't often emphasize here, come on back down, is the scissor blades up top. So I'm doing this with my arms too. I don't want him to post this arm, so I'm keeping this tight to my body, pushing this scissor blade in this direction, and then I'm punching him into the sweep with the opposite blade. So that's why they call it the scissor sweep. Obviously, scissor on the bottom, scissor up top, okay? Now, what people often do wrong in this position is they try to execute the sweep from here. They try to scissor their arms and their legs here and chop the person over. And you can get somebody who's your size. But if you try to do this against somebody who's a little bigger, or they're resisting, or both, they're not gonna move. So what I need to do is I need to pull myself up to my elbow, and then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try to get Tim to come off his heels, okay? So I'm going to aggressively rock back and pull him on top of me. So I want you to watch what happens to his base. His butt comes off his heels when I do that, right? So now his base is compromised. So now I wipe through on the bottom, I chop through on the top with my legs, and then I'm doing the same thing with my arms. I'm keeping this tight so he never has an opportunity to post his hand. And then I take this hand, I punch that collar all together nice and easy. And the whip of the scissor sweep, the momentum of the person spiraling and going to the bottom, should automatically pull you on top. You shouldn't have to put a hand on the floor and press up. You should still have sleeve grip and collar grip when you land. One thing I want everyone to think about when they open up their guard from this position is keeping 4 points of contact with the person on top. So in this case, we already got a sleeve grip here. We already got the cross collar grip here. I already put my foot on the hip, and then as I hip escape, this one's kind of hanging off the side of his hip, but still it's gonna prevent him from moving around my guard. And as you'll see in a minute, we're gonna play this here. So I do have 4 points of contact. Now, even if you don't know how to play any type of open guard or spider guard, the main concept is, again, just 4 points of contact. So that could be 2 sleeve grips, 2 feet on the hips, as long as you're controlling the arms well. This is 4 points of contact. It could also be 1 hand on the sleeve, foot on the bicep, other foot here. So I've got 4 points of contact again. There are a lot of different ways to do this, but if you just obey that rule, it's gonna be hard for the person to move around your legs and pass your guard, even if you don't really know what to do from there, okay? So let's check this out. Sleeve grip, collar grip, foot on the hip, about a medium distance hip escape, okay? Now I go and I start to play this shin 45 degrees across the chest. Maybe I've even already dropped down my leg and cupped his knee to start my scissor blade. But what he does is he works his arm back inside, okay? And so now he's really changed like the power that I could have in the sweep. In fact, if I try to sweep him now, what's gonna happen is your leg is gonna slide up the person's shoulder. You're probably gonna shin your partner in the head, and then after they've recovered from that, they're just gonna shrug your leg off and they're gonna start to move around your guard, okay? So if you feel that arm sneak in, and I'm gonna raise his arm up, my arms up so you guys can see. Go ahead and raise everything up. This here, if this sneaks inside, don't try to scissor sweep the person. It needs to be here for the scissor sweep. The good news is, there's a really sharp counter here. If he sneaks that arm inside, I'm just gonna punch it out and do the triangle choke instead. Before you execute your triangle choke, this foot now must transfer to the hip. This is really important for power and for me to pivot later on. Big pull in the collar, big pull in the sleeve, and I'm gonna use my shin up top here as a battering ram. I'm gonna push through his arm. I'm gonna break any connection he has with my gi. And now I'm safe to shoot the triangle choke, okay? So I'm gonna do a quick angle adjustment so you guys can see exactly what I've done on this side. So once again, he brings his arm inside. I'm about to make my scissor sweep. The arm comes in, I change gears. My left foot moves to the hip. I bring this fully across his arm, more parallel with the floor than it was before. Knee in the chest, sharp part of my shin in his bicep. Now a big pull in the collar, big pull in the sleeve, some hip extension, and then I punch the shin through his chest, and it breaks the grip on my gi. Now, a lot of moving parts from this point, okay? I'm gonna use that foot on the hip to start to change my angle, and I'm also gonna use it to start to raise my hip so I can shoot my leg over his shoulder and I can bite his neck, okay? So when I say that, what I mean is I want the back of my knee clamping on his neck, and I wanna pin my heel to the floor, okay? So this should already be really securing the position, and then this knee on the side is squeezing against his shoulder so he can't pop his arm out very easily, okay? But when you get here, a lot of people are very tempted to try to close their figure four and finish the choke. Please don't do that yet, okay? Cross your feet, pin your heels, squeeze your knees together. Maintain your triangle position. That's what this is, okay? Now I'm gonna leave the collar and I'm gonna concentrate all my efforts on passing this arm across the body. So I've got a 2-on-1. I'm gonna raise my hip up off the floor. That reduces the friction between his arm and my body. I can pass it across nice and clean. As you can see, I drop my hip back down. What I'm trying to do is trap his elbow in my hip pocket. That's the space between my leg, my hip bone, and my rib cage. So I want to trap it in there, so even if I let go of it, he can't really move it out very easily. That's what I want, okay? So this is where we left off. Grab your shin, pull it down tight. The reason I'm doing that is so I can unlock and I can put my foot on his hip, the floor, or the tip of his knee, and I can adjust my angle. I want to go as perpendicular as possible. So right now I'm looking at him. As I shift, I want to look into his ear. I want to go from here to here. And already the choke tightens considerably, okay? From this position, I keep holding the arm, I raise my hip, and I close the back of my knee over this section of my shin, never my foot, okay? It's a much stronger lock. Now when I get this, I'm not gonna move my arms, I'm not gonna move anything. All I'm gonna do is pull my shin down, I'm gonna pin my heels to the floor and squeeze my knees together and get a real quick tap, okay? Breathe, get some blood. Now, a lot of people ask me, is it okay once you have it locked? I'm gonna lock this very loosely here, okay? Is it okay when you have it locked to take your hand off, take your hand off the arm and dive under the person's leg to get an even deeper angle? It's okay. The only thing with that is, sometimes I like to hold on to the person's arm because when you dive under, at times they can recover their elbow position if you haven't trapped the elbow in your hip pocket very well. But then also I like to make transitions to attack the arm. So if I dive under, I'm not holding his arm anymore. But if I hold onto his arm and I feel like I want to switch to an arm lock, I can push his face, I can pass my second leg, cross my feet, pin my heels, and then I can attack a straight arm lock from this position. And because I never let go of his arm, my grip's already in place.